So this is just a quick chat about the Honda Civic HCH2 IPU compared to the CR-Z IPU, etc. So we've just been chatting on the forum about possibly researching the HCH2 Civic to see if that could be a cheaper option than having to find a lithium CR-Z. So I have been looking carefully through the wiring diagrams. I have the workshop manuals for the HCH2 Civic and obviously the CR-Z, as you already know. So what we've got here, this is a Civic HCH2 IPU, and this is the Civic HCH2 battery control module, and this is a CR-Z IPU, and this is a lithium CR-Z MCM and battery control module combined. So the first problem we have is that in the CR-Z, the motor control module and the battery control module are in this little box. This is a double-sided printed circuit board. There's another processor on the back. This is the lithium one, but the nickel metal hydride one is just a square. But the point is it's got the two processors in here. It's got the motor control module and the battery control module, and it simply communicates using analog signals with the IPU, which is the power unit which does the actual switching. And in the CR-Z, this is a much simpler unit, as you can see here. The circuit board here is much smaller than the one in the Honda Civic here. So the Honda Civic has them separate. So it has the battery control module here, which is like the top side of this or the bottom side of this, and it has the motor control module built into the IPU power unit, and that would be the underside of that one, for instance. So this circuit board is a lot more complicated than this circuit. Obviously it's still got the power modules, which is basically this side and this side, but the problem is this is the motor control module, whereas in the CR-Z it's actually separate. So it communicates using CAN between this module and that module, and the problem is we don't have any similar communications in the CR-Z in that manner. So that would be a serious reverse engineering task. You'd have to have a working Civic HCH2 to reverse engineer the signals coming from the battery control module to the IPU, and you'd have to try and fake stuff and introduce fake signals, and that would be difficult because that's all CAN based, so it's fast, and there's a lot of data passing backwards and forwards, so that's tricky. So I think that probably is almost certainly going to mean that we can't use the HCH2 module. The thing with Honda Power Developments in the US with this stuff is, of course, is that they've got access to all of Honda's data. If we knew exactly what the IMA CAN stuff and the CAN stuff between these two modules was, we could easily then reverse engineer it and make it work to how we want. They've obviously got access to all that information. We've got access to none of that information, so we just have to cobble on with what we can do. Although this is a higher voltage rated module, it might have been useful to try and squeeze 30 kilowatts plus out, but we might still be able to do that with the CR-Z IPU, as you have seen me experimenting now. I'm up to 25.5 kilowatts, and that's using the lithium IPU and the nickel metal hydride control module, because they basically work on exactly the same principle here. There are analog signals between these two units which we can modify, and we can fake signals to the battery and motor control module there. But because these two are communicating with CAN, much more difficult, and it's going to be very difficult. The phase sensors are incorporated into this module as well, which means we can't easily access those signals, whereas in this one the phase sensors are separate in that separate module, which you've seen before, so that means we can fake those signals to get more current. So I think we're going to have to stick with the CR-Z stuff, which means if you want to go as far as I've been going, which is more than 150 volts, obviously this is a nickel metal hydride IPU, and that's limited to about 150 volts, 160 volts before it starts faulting, then you'll have to have a CR-Z lithium IPU module. Unfortunately they're a bit rarer. I'm not sure what other cars they might be in, but anyway, if you have a nickel metal hydride MCM and BCM combined and the CR-Z lithium, we know that we can do 25 kilowatts, and later on this week hopefully I'm going to try 30 kilowatts with that setup. But it looks like the HCH2 Civic is going to be a non-starter unless I come up with any brilliant ideas, or anybody else does. Feel free to comment. It's tricky, because of the way these two are integrated together, and the fact this just uses simple analog signals between these two modules, whereas this is the much more sophisticated CAN between these two units, and the motor control module is built into this one, whereas it's not in the CR-Z. So we are basically stuck for now. So that's where we are. I'll keep you updated with progress this week.